Right, so I can see Chaba now started the recording, so I will start my presentation. Most likely to avoid any kind of connection problems, I will also switch off my camera. But for the time being, many thanks for everyone for attending this training. As the title indicates, I will try to show you some useful and free generative AI tools. And well, since there are roughly 15,000 of these generative AI tools, it could very well happen that you are already aware of the platforms I will be talking about. It could even happen that you are aware of better ones that exist. So if the latter is true, then please feel free to just um, send messages into the chat section because this field indeed keeps evolving so rapidly that even for experts, it's really challenging to keep up with its pace. So in this brief presentation, I will only present free platforms that I have tried many times or ones that I use on a regular basis for my research activities. So I know for a fact that I could recommend these with a clear conscience because they are indeed very good. So now I will start sharing my screen. And we are basically going to talk about three specific things. Um, One is how to browse using generative AI, how to extract information using generative AI, and how to search for correlations with AI tools, which can be really helpful for your research, especially if you are writing a literature review, for example. So here you can see this is where I got the number. There is a very useful homepage called There's an AI for That. And as you can see, for the time being, they say that there's 15,533 generative AI platforms. This pretty much popped up. These pretty much popped up after ChatGPT arrived on the scene in November 2022. So this is a lot. Feel free to browse through them. So the first pillar, what I was mentioning, is browsing, right? So or rather the perils of browsing with generative AI. On the positive side, if you use platforms like Copilot, Gemini, Perplexity, which is the ones that we are going to use today, or ChatGPT for that matter, it can make life easier for you because it pretty much makes your browsing tailor-made. You can access information more quickly, and that certainly has its own appeal. However, and Chabo really was trying to stress that these tools are not intelligent in the human way, so they are recognizing statistical patterns. If you are asking a question from any of these platforms, they will make a probability calculation, so you will receive the most probable answer and not necessarily the correct answer, right? And that certainly has some ramifications for you if you want to use these in your academic life. So what I would now try to do is to take two specific prompts and I will type these in all of these three platforms and we will see what the differences are. Now, as far as Copilot is concerned, I will not use this one because fortunately enough, Corvinus University has a very good relations with Microsoft as a company, so we received the pro version of Copilot, but this is not available for most of the students, so I would just simply shut this down and I will open Edge. And if you click in the top right corner, here you have the free version of Copilot, so I will be using this one. Right, so the first prompt that I will just simply submit is a very simple question. And this question is, and you will see why this will matter. Our first question is, why was Donald Trump impeached? Right, so you hit enter, it starts generating the answer. And it comes up with actually a pretty good answer with dates and everything. It knows that it had that Donald Trump had two impeachment procedures. First one of abuse of power, other one incitement of insurrection. And it gives here in the bottom section the sources, which is why Copilot is already better than ChatGPT in this sense. The same applies to Perplexity, which is actually my favorite, if I can allow to say that. So usually I use this much more often than either Copilot or ChatGPT. If you type in the same question, why was Donald Trump impeached? Hit enter, it will start generating the answer. It gives a much more detailed answer with much more data and facts. And what makes this more usable from an academic perspective than, for example, ChatGPT is again the fact that here you can see the sources from which it compiled the information that you receive in the output answer, right? And you can just already start double checking, which is something you should always do. So if you converse with a chatbot, never accept by default the first answer that you get, okay? Or at least always scrutinize the output that you received, right? So you can see the sources, and you can just feel free to click on it. You can see that this is the official homepage of the US Congress, which is a primary source. So this is this answer was compiled from very good sources, so it could be accepted as quite good. Let's see what Gemini does with the same question. And here comes the interesting part. So the same question, why was Donald Trump impeached? Let's see the answer. So the answer is, I can't help with responses on elections and political figures right now. While I would never deliberate share something that's inaccurate, I can make mistakes. So while I work on improving, you can try Google search. If you have any ideas, and I think, I'm really curious to learn if you have any ideas, just feel free to put it here in the chat section. If you have any ideas on why this answer came up. I mean, Gemini is operated by Google, so certainly it's not because of a lack of information. It was as a deliberate decision from Google not to answer any kind of election-related questions. And that doesn't just pertain to the US elections. That was the case in the Indian elections, European parliamentary elections in South Africa, UK, and so on and so forth. So if you have any ideas why this, what's the justification, and if you agree with the justification, then feel free to share it with the others in the chat section. In the meanwhile, what's problematic about this practice? So what we can see is the ability of these companies who run these kind of AI platforms to streamline the information that you as a user can have access to, right? And this generates like a lot of thought and a lot of problem. Because, I mean, for example, there are also Chinese chatbots. Baidu has the Ernie bot, for example, right? So if the largest US or Western company goes on its way streamlining information, what is to prevent them from not providing, for example, an honest answer if someone asks about what happened at Tiananmen Square in 1989, or what happens with the Uyghur community in the western parts of China? Right, so this is a very problematic part, that these companies actually possess the capability to streamline the information that you have access to. Right, so this was one part of the problem, and one problem why you should be very cautious when you are accepting the information that you are given by these platforms. Let's look at the second prompt. Okay, so second prompt is more closer to academia. Let's say you want to write a paper on artificial intelligence. But you are just getting into the topic and you're not really aware of who are the main authors, what are the best papers you should write. So you ask the question, which are the 10 most cited papers in the field of artificial intelligence according to the Web of Science database, right? This is a database that contains a lot of data about these kind of issues. So let's see what Copilot has to answer. Right, so it starts coming up with a list. Deep residual learning, attention is all you need, playing Atari with deep reinforcement learning, BERT pre-training a deep bidirectional transformer, and so on and so forth. All right, so let's see what Perplexity has to say about this. Then we are, of course, also going to check Gemini. Right, it's very confident. Here are the 10 most cited papers in artificial intelligence according to the Web of Science database. Deep residual learning, deep learning, ImageNet classification with deep convolution neural networks, generative adversarial nets, advances in neural information processing, and so on and so forth. And it even writes down the citation count, which unfortunately is total hallucination, as you will see it in a few minutes. But let's do the same exercise also with Gemini. So the question is still, which are the 10 most cited papers in the field of artificial intelligence according to the Web of Science database? So it already says potentially highly cited papers, so it has a bit caution. Attention is all you need. This also was present in Copilot, ImageNet classification, neural network approach to collaborative filtering, deep residual learning, and so on and so forth. And the truth of the matter is that they are all wrong, right? So all three platforms are wrong. Why is this? Pretty simple, but first let me show you the correct answer. So this is Clarivate's Web of Science Insights page, which is a very good page if you want to look for these kind of data that we are talking about right now. So you click on Analyze, and by the way, this is not normally free of charge, but you have a subscription as a student of the university, so this is why I'm also showing you this. So you click to Analyze, then Research Areas. This is a huge database, by the way. So it's good if you get familiar with it, right? You see that it has 254 research areas. So we start typing in artificial intelligence. There you have it, computer science and artificial intelligence. Starts loading the analysis. You can see that it has 395,000 articles in the database. We click on it, and then voila. You see that this is ordered based on citation number. And the titles are totally different than what you received in all three chatbots previously. So this the number one PyTorch from Pascal Gross and others didn't even occur in any of the searches, even though this is the most highly cited paper based on Web of Science with 19,000 sites. Then squeeze and excitation networks, pre-training of deep bidirectional transformation language, convolutional block attention model, deep lab semantic images, and so on and so forth. So it got totally wrong. All three platforms got it totally wrong. Nonetheless, they generated an answer for you, which is a cautionary tale, again, why you should always check and double check the type of information that you receive from these kind of platforms. Right, so let's jump to another platform. We're still in the section of browsing for information. So if you're writing an empirical paper, then most likely someday you will get acquainted with a site called statista.com. It has an extraordinary amount of data that you can feel free to search for your papers. And again, this is not a free platform, but as a student of Corvinus, you have access to it because we pay for it. So let me show you how this works. So let's say you have a research question about the pandemic. So you start a new query and you ask the question. Now this here, the prompt should be as specific as possible because we are dealing with statistical data. So if you want to get the proper data, you need to have a very specific prompt. So what we are asking now, which 10 countries had the highest death per capita ratio globally during the COVID-19 pandemic between 2019 and 2021? So this is the question. You can see it started working and started generating the answer for us. And by the time it finishes, you will have a complete answer with the sources that you can also reference in your paper. Right, there you have it. So Peru is the number one with 647 deaths per 100,000 people. Right, so and it gives out the rest of the top 10. So it's Peru, Bulgaria, unfortunately Hungary is at number 3, Croatia, Slovenia, Czech Republic, Latvia, Slovakia, and it also makes some very important methodological remarks, right? So these figures are based on data from the OSCE for the years 2020 and 2022. It's important to note that different countries may have varying methods of reporting and counting COVID-19 deaths. Some countries may underreport cases or deaths due to limited testing capacity or other factors. So these are very important remarks if you're doing a research on it. And then you can see it also gives away the sources. You can click on the source material, and there you have it. It's the German version of the data, which you can export in either PDF, XLS, and other specific formats. Right, so this is the browsing section. What about let's say you already looked up some of the literature that is relevant for your specific research. How can you easily and quickly get access to the information that is relevant for you within that specific piece of paper? Right, so this is where programs like ChatPDF come into the picture. There are many similar programs. The basic idea is that you upload a PDF and you can ask questions relating only to that specific material, which is good because it pretty much narrows down the opportunities for any AI platform to start hallucinating all over the place, right? Because you have a very closed source. You gave it a specific PDF and you are asking targeted questions only about that particular source, right? So you can have access like you have platforms like ChatPDF. AskyourPDF.com is also a similar platform. It's very nice. I can also recommend it. You also have similar platforms like Docalysis.com. But one I will show you today that has similar qualities but can do even more is a platform called Scispace. And if you just scroll here to the left-hand side, you can see that there are many different options to explore. One is better than the other. So right now we are going to explore the chat with a PDF function. And what I will use as a reference is a paper that we recently wrote together with Csaba. It's called AI and Ethics, Investigating the First Policy Responses of Higher Education Institutions to the Challenges of Generative AI. And this was just recently published last month in Humanities and Social Sciences Communications. I will put this reference here in the chat section. Feel free to read it. I think it might be useful for you. So this is going to be our base literature. Okay, so what we are going to do now is we're going to upload this PDF. Untitled collection. This doesn't matter for the time being, right? And it loads the PDF, right? This is the paper, all right? So right now you have the paper and you have the this bar here where you can start asking questions, and it's courteous enough that it even offers you some of the most common questions that people usually ask. So you can like ask what are the results of the paper, and then it starts looking for the results, and it highlights what the key results are. So these kind of platforms are particularly good if you have a paper and you know exactly the kind of information you want to extract from it, because then it can save you time. You don't need to read the whole stuff. If, for example, let's say you are interested in seeing if the paper has anything written about, does the paper say anything about policies at the University of Auckland? Let's say you're writing about that. And then here you can see the answer. The University of Auckland adopts a laissez-faire approach regarding the use of generative AI, meaning that there is no centralized guidance or recommendation on this matter. Now, the important thing and the important function of these kind of ChatPDF platforms is that you don't need to take this answer for face value, yeah, like because you have the references, right? So I click on this small number here, and then it will take me to that particular part of the text where this information appears. And as you can see, the University of Auckland is among the universities that apply a fully laissez-passer, laissez-faire approach, respecting, meaning that a lack of centralized guidance. So this is almost a word-by-word quote that it produced for me, right? And this is particularly important for two reasons. First, you can immediately double check if the answer that the system gave you is correct. And two, if you want to write a verbatim quote, so word by word quote, then in all cases, you will be required to give in the exact page number where that citation can be found in the original source material, right? And this really makes your life easier in that sense, because it just makes things quicker. Another thing you can do is, here's the literature review. Writing a literature review can be the most time-consuming part of any research. So what you can do is, let's say you are writing about income inequality in the European Union. So you just simply type in this particular field, and it starts answering in specific sources, right? You can even fine tune your research. You say, I only want open access because I don't want to pay for any papers. So it regenerates it. You can even sort it, let's say, by citation count. So the ones that receive more citation will appear higher above in the list, right? And this is a nice, well, it's kind of old because it's from 2004. Let's maybe check something fresher. Here's one from 2021, 33 citations, COVID related, excellent. So you click on it, it opens up a new platform, and again, you can start chatting with that particular paper and asking questions about that particular paper. And if it's open access, since it should be open access because we ticked that box, if you just simply click on the DOI part, then it will bring you to that particular homepage where you can find and have access to this paper. Right, so this is a really useful, and you also have other specific functions. I won't be able to show it all to you because we only have so much time, but this is very useful. So again, it's typeset.io. Please feel free to just try it out. And now let's move from extracting to correlations. One of the best is connected papers. If you get stuck with your writing at any point, if you are jumping into a new subject, or if you just simply have a writer's block, then you can feel free to pretty much come here and start working out a graph. And again, for the sake of simplicity, let's stick with the income inequality agenda. So you just write the keyword income inequality, push enter. Let's just look at the first reference that comes out, and then you get this kind of graph, right? So here is the base article from Bertola from 2019, income inequality in the EU. And here you have related papers, right? So this is not a citation tree. These are all sources that relate to Bertola's original paper that you selected based on its content and keywords. And if you want to have more information, you just go to this small help button here, and you can see that each node is an academic paper related to your original paper, which are arranged according to their similarity, right? So node size refers to the number of citations. Node color is the publishing year. That's also important if you are writing a paper, because you will be expected to cite relevant, not just relevant, but also fresh literature, if possible. And similar papers have strong connection lines and cluster together. So if you just try to zoom in a little bit, you can see that there's a very strong correlation with another paper. Or what you can also see is that this is a relatively big circle. So Avdagic received 85 citations. And then if you see the color, you can see that the original, which was in 2018, is much more darker than this one from Dalmazzo, for example, which is from 2011. Right, so this is a very good platform to play around with if you just simply stuck with your literature review. Another similarly good platform is called Litmaps. So the original opening page looks like this. You need to register yourself, and of course in the free version certain functions are not available, but it's still very much usable. So if I now start creating my first lit map, let's say you know for a fact that for your specific research you have a very salient paper, right? And then you want to find some correlations, and you want to map the citations that was contained in that particular paper. So again, I will use our paper with Chabo. I will just put in the title, click on search. There you have it. Create lit map. And voila. So what you see here are sources that we actually cited in this particular paper. Right, so what you can do is, of course, if you can make your, if you want to make your life easier, you can just simply say, oh, this paper from Howard, it's important for me, so you can start having direct access to it, again, if it's open access. But another thing you can do, and here you see the information. So click more like this for recommended articles you're interested in. So you can actually change the algorithm based on your preferred subject matter, right? So if you say that here is fairness, accountability, and transparency, good. I'm writing about AI in this perspective. So I simply click on more like this. And then this pops up, articles updated, load more results. You see, and then the graph changes based on the new preferences that you just gave. right? And then you can see that there are some common papers that were cited by both Memarian and us. But there are also some other papers that were not cited by us, but were cited by Memarian and are interesting from the point of view of the topic itself. And then again, if you find something that is interesting for you, you can click on it directly and it will redirect you to that particular paper. And if it's open access, then you can feel free to have a look at it. Right, so this is Litmaps. Again, feel free to just play around with it for a while. Up for our next platform, this is called Consensus. They usually present themselves as an academic research engine. And as far as prompting is concerned, this works a bit opposite to ChatGPT. You might have seen ChatGPT prompts that are like 7 paragraphs long. Here, less is more. So you can start just putting in keywords and then hit the search button. Or what you can do is to ask certain questions that you require answer to. And the good thing about Consensus is that unlike the other chatbots I just showed you, it doesn't just simply reply in a text, it replies in sources. Right, so you have a quick summary. So the question I inserted was, which countries have the highest income inequality within the EU? And there's a quick summary based on 10 papers that Bulgaria and Romania have the highest income inequality. It has some a description of the topic more. You can start digging into it. Bulgaria stands out with a Gini coefficient exceeding 40%, indicating a high level income disparity. Let's say you're interested in that. So you just click on the source, and then here you go, income inequalities in EU countries, Gini indicator analysis. You think this is relevant for you, so you click on it. You will get the abstract and some additional data, and the same thing as before. If it's open access, you can already start directly accessing the paper. So this is indeed a very comfortable way of looking for relevant literature for your specific paper, even if you ask a bit more complex questions. So since the paper we clicked on was keen on the Gini index, which is one of the main indexes used to conceptualize income inequality, you can ask, are there any limitations in the accuracy of the Gini index in measuring income inequality? And then it will start looking for relevant papers based on that new prompt. Right? And so it points out some of the deficiencies of the Gini index, like the inability to capture different income distributions, or the sensitivity to changes in income distribution, limitations in measuring poverty. And you can have all these papers that are criticizing the accuracy of the Gini index. And again, you can click on them, and that's a pretty nice way of building up a literature review, which is pretty much about mentioning all the pros and cons of a specific topic. Okay, next up, I wanted to show you the JSTOR text analyzer, but unfortunately, it was discontinued a few days ago on the 30th of August. This is good because it allows you to upload your own paper. It will analyze the keywords of it and then recommend similar papers based on that. So it was really useful. I hope they will continue it. For the time being, all you can do is sign up for the beta version, and once it becomes available, you will get an email. So I will just put this here in the chat section. And then, yeah, I see some questions and remarks, and I will start reading these just in a minute. As a matter of fact, we can start reading it now because I only have like 10 minutes left, and AI detectors are not that interesting. So you can start working with this. One of the interesting things, I will say that, and then we will jump back to your questions in the chat section. So this is one of the. I mean, you have many AI detection tools. Um, you have Yves Saint Laurent, of course, as an ad. So you have zero GPT, you have GPT zero, and so on and so forth. So how this works. So let's, for example, copy paste again the abstract of our paper together with Chaba, which we know for a fact that we wrote. We can run a scan, and then voila, it says that at 90% probability it's human. 3% AI. So yes, we actually did write that. And then if you do like a kind of a counter probe, and if you give in the very simple prompt to Copilot, let's say, not this one, but this one. Write a summary about the weather in Budapest today in 200 words, right? And it will start coming up with an answer. And if we will copy paste this, then it should be able to differentiate. Let's try this one this time, just to show how it works. And we will delete this part for sure. Your text is 67%. There's a 67% likelihood that it's AI generated, right? And the same goes to this one, undetectable.ai. But it's this is a more cheeky platform. You know why? Because your content is detected as AI written. Because so now that it has detected that it is AI written, what you can do is you can humanize it, right? So you have now an algorithm that takes an AI generated text and try to change it in order to make it look like it's more human, right? But I cannot demonstrate this one right now because it's for users who actually paid um, for the service. But then again, let's rather go back to the chat section, and I will stop sharing my screen. Right. So let's see. Yeah. So there's an answer from. So Google choose not to include political issues within its AI algorithms because they are major search engines that can influence consumer behavior and voter interests. To protect against legal action, they opted to take a neutral stance. This can be seen in their close ties with the US, which contributed to the creation of harmony in China. That was indeed the official reasoning that they not just this, but they also want to avoid that their content might be taken out of context and used to spread disinformation. Like Otto has a question. Sometimes I use ChatGPT for proofreading purposes, despite the fact that the original text was created by a real author. The AI detection websites mark the corrected modified text as AI generated. Yeah, what is the rule of thumb in this case? Is it still recommended to use AI for proofreading purposes? As long as it is a very useful tool, could the author simply indicate in their methodology sections that the help of AI was involved in the work? So this was multiple questions. So yes, certain universities already provide templates for students that they can use to signal the level in which they used generative AI for their particular papers. But again, for very practical reasons, we do not yet have a university-wide AI guideline, so it's in the making. but we do not have it yet. So you should always ask your professors about what's the proper way to signal that you've been using generative AI tools for your assignments. So that's one part of the question. And so AI detection websites, yes, that's one of the mistakes and these kind of AI detectors that I just showed to you, they are not able to detect the difference between a text that was generated, for example, by ChatGPT, or if I take my own text and put it through there's a very useful paraphrasing program. So I will again try to share my screen just to show it to you. There's a very, very useful paraphrasing program called QuillBot. And we also have a subscription for professors to this particular paraphrasing program because it's really good. And if you pay for it, then you have an academic option, which means that if you just like type in any kind of nonsensical stuff, then even if it's grammatically incorrect, it will not only correct it. You see, this is a deliberately grammatically really bad sentence. And if you just simply click on the paraphrase button, it will not only instantly correct the grammatical mistakes, but also put it in an academic style, right? So this is really useful. But if you use this, so let's say you think your English is not perfect and you want to use these kind of tools to improve it. It's true that actually AI detectors cannot detect the difference between the two, which again underscores that you cannot really use these kind of AI detection tools for any disciplinary action against any student. And I think there was also one more element of the question. I mean, for proofreading, again, so the best thing, I use Grammarly. Okay, so that even Grammarly is really smart. Sometimes even Grammarly comes up with BS. But as far as we know it, the best possible tool, in my opinion, if you want to do proofreading, is either give it to a native speaker, right? That's rule number one. Or if you cannot do that, then use the pro version of Grammarly. But even the free version of Grammarly is really, really good. Yeah, I think Ahmad asked the same question that I already answered. Then Chaba had a comment. There is no strict rule, but the basic idea is that all depends on what the lecturer allows. Yes, in general, proofreading is okay. And we are aware that AI-supported grammar does look to some tools as fully AI-generated. Yeah, this is what we were talking about. What I recommend you to do is to save your own version. So should an issue arise, you can show your original text. Yeah, this is a good idea, Chaba. Also, you can briefly document what tools you used and for what purposes. Yep. Okay. Yes, could you please share the Word document with all these guide tools? I'm usually reluctant to share any kind of